Good morning, all, and thanks for tuning in. Susanna Reen, Inspiration's the theme, and I've been listening a little bit to Renee Brown. I'm sure most of you know who Renee Brown is. If not, look her up on a TED Talk, and she's award-winning author of 6 books, and she studies philosophy and emotions. And what I'm learning today from this podcast brought me to a point of wanting to speak a little bit to you all. And apparently, according to her studies, we can identify about three emotions on the average. And that is, being truly annoyed, angry, happy, or sad. And we are complex human beings with a multitude of emotions over and above that. And one of the examples she gave was, it's a bit of a buzzword these days to be underwhelmed as opposed to overwhelmed. And that she was using overwhelmed, let's say, incorrectly. And so when she was feeling really stressed out and committed to too many things, she would say, I'm overwhelmed. So from her studies, what she has learned is there's a difference between being stressed, and sometimes stress is very good for our lives because it's important that we have certainty, but it's also important that we don't have uncertainty in order to keep us alive and interested and hopeful and looking forward, and not knowing is so very important to our development mentally and emotionally. And so certainty and uncertainty are two edges to the same sword, two sides to the same coin. Same with being overwhelmed versus stress. And what you might say is, so why is this important? So they've been able to give language to about 87 emotions, apparently. And when we can identify emotions, name them, then we can understand, hold them, and treat them in ways that are productive and important to our well-being. And be able to also then, with the relationships that we have closest to us, which evoke the highest sometimes of emotions, we are better able to articulate what we are feeling so that we don't cause harm to other people, particularly in my heart, I think children and young developing adults, but rather teach in teachable moments what it is you're feeling. So an example she gave was when she used to say she was overwhelmed, she's now learned that what overwhelm really means is that life is unfolding faster than you can keep up. That's not always a bad thing. I mean, let's face it, giving birth and having a new baby, which is wonderful, is overwhelming because the events happen faster than you can keep up. But that can be very joyous. So the idea is to understand it and hold it and identify it and be able to speak about it and share it with others. So one thing about being overwhelmed is the answer to being overwhelmed is if things are unfolding too fast and you can't keep up, is that you need to stop. You need to breathe and you need to change what is happening. So because sometimes we cannot change what is happening, it is important to go for a walk, go for a run, sit, go for a boat ride, do some yoga, whatever it is that you do when the outside world is perhaps out of your control at the moment. And to recognize that it's a moment and this too shall pass. If you are not at a stage where everything is unfolding way too fast and you can't keep up, then the language is, I am stressed. And when you can identify the difference, you know how to deal with it. If you are stressed, then perhaps you need to look at your schedule. And perhaps you need to go plunk, 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 or take this out or do that. But overwhelmed means you can't do anything about it and you should just stop. And so it gives us a map about how to deal with emotions. And because emotions are what drives the world, I feel it's important to have conversation around it. So if you're interested in Renee Brown and what she's got to teach, she's got another new book out called Atlas of the Heart. And you might be interested in that. And I just thought I might share a little wee bit about that. And the one that really strikes me and really helps me in this conversation is when we know that we have experienced awe. And so awe she describes as being small, and so small when you really comprehend what's happening around us, but also feeling so in awe that we're actually part of what's happening around us in this world as we hear these geese over above our heads. And that kind of awe is a beautiful feeling. And once we know what it is, and if it produces wonder, we can wonder how to replicate that. And that's where my interest comes in, is if we can recognize the emotions that we want more of, then maybe we can replicate them and understand where they came from and what they are. And for the ones that are very painful, we can nurture ourselves, articulate them, name them, and be able to say to our spouses, our children, our nieces, our nephews, our friends, our family, our coworkers, this is what I'm feeling, and therefore I'm going to respond in this way. So, communication is key, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you tune in again soon, and hit subscribe, share all that stuff so that our community may grow. And good morning to you all. Blessed be.